but I figure if people want to watch like the very first 5 seconds, they can. Nice, we got some people in the chat already.
Sweet.
Just started rolling, and we'll start soon. .com. Jesus, Momo.
I know. And look at this, throwing hashtags up the wazoo.
Wait, I can't even see your bottom hashtag.
Oh, damn it! It says hashtag returned. Damn it! It didn't work.
Hashtag book returned.
Hope not. Let's see.
I'm going to tweet we are live with episode Hundy if you want to.
Oh yeah, I gotta open Tweetland back up. Twitter. Where's the Twitter? Oh, I broke my whole Chrome. Oh, where the hell did it go?
Chrome has been weird for me lately. I don't know if anybody else.
Yeah, I just had to do Safari to get in here because I logged in and everything went crazy pants. So.
It crapped out at me at work today for the first time ever, and I was like,
"Don't tell me that. That freaks me out." Like I use it so much for work. Like
something didn't work. Get out of here.
Yeah, no, really. I mean, it's my go-to, man.
That's all I use at work. That's how I upload all my project notes onto the cloud.
Yep.
The cloud.
And I'm a Google crazy person too. Like they own every piece of information I've ever had. They can have it. It's cool.
It's cool. I trust Google, kind of.
Well, it does cool shit like, oh hey, you bought a ticket to a thing. And my phone says, hey, if you want to go to that event you bought the ticket to that I read your email about, you should leave now because there's a little bit more traffic than you expected between where you are and this thing.
That happened to me back in October, and I thought like Big Brother had finally come.
I was like, oh, thank you. That's awesome and creepy and awesome.
Suggestion on 93.
And now it randomly remembers where I've parked. So when I drive somewhere and then I'm walking with my phone in my pocket, it knows that I've switched from driving to walking. And then when I'm walking back near my car, it goes, "Oh, you parked over here." And I'm like, "What?"
That is insanity.
I love it. They can have all of my aggregate data. It's fine. I'm enjoying. I'm living off the non-privacy internet. I love it.
This is the first time these people get a view into what happens before the show, so it's just a whole lot of bullshit. After episode of 100, we're calling it quits.
I know. Like, Google's okay.
Yeah, so yeah, I clicked play too soon.
Hey, if we say nice things about Google, maybe the Google Plus will be nice to us today.
Just don't say anything bad about Korea or good about Sony. Just toss it out there.
Yeah,
no one's going to see that movie anyway. It's going to get bad on Rotten Tomatoes, so it's going to be available on Netflix.
It looks
tomorrow.
pretty funny.
It does. Yeah, I'd see it. Well, what's the big hubbub? Because they could have done the same thing with Team America, World Parish.
Puppets, though.
Well, I think the big hubbub was the North Koreans actually hacked servers.
Oh, those sneaky bastards.
Might as well be North Korean computer guys. Like,
yeah.
That's what they should just start calling them that. Like,
hack the server. Okay.
Where'd you hack? United States government? No, Sony.
Yeah, I got an email from Angelina Jolie. What else did you get? That's pretty much it.
the new James Bond script. We can work with that.
Yeah, we can do things with this. Okay. So everyone cool? Got the stuff up? Like, if you want to look at like recap, the web page is up there. Norm isn't with us, so it is what it is. I mean, he's alive. All right. So
the new rumor: Norm is dead.
Yeah. For those that have already joined in, thanks for joining. We got about 1,000 viewers already. Man, it's crazy.
Just get about 10,000 hits a minute.
Yeah, as Kelly Clarkson said, Mike, since you've been gone, we've been getting a lot of viewers.
I knew it. Spiked. I feel like finally that idiot's gone.
All right, let's get her going. Who's you all ready?
Yeah, I'm ready to hit it.
That's gonna have like a 5-second thing of silence, so I know where to edit. So. Yes! What's going on, everybody? It is Brian Aldridge from SeacoastBeverageLab.com, and this is episode number 100 of the Seacoast Beverage Lab podcast. We did it.
Yay! We still like each other. Yay!
And that's going to do it for episode number 100 of the Seacoast. No, kidding. Thank you. We are here, and most of us are here. And Jesus, I don't know what else to say, but we're going to be pretty much blowing smoke for the next hour. So get ready for that. But again, this is episode number 100 of the Seacoast Beverage Lab podcast. The podcast that started on August 8th, 2012, has taken 2 years to reach its hundo, but we did it. And the podcast gods aren't doing so well on myself and on Norm. Norm has to work tonight, so he's not here for the 100th episode. This is the only time he could do it before 2015. I myself am extremely ill, so I am drinking for the first time in any podcast something other than beer. The 0-calorie sparkling water, raspberry blackberry, chill.
Ooh. Still got its flavor, though.
What's the aroma on that, Brian?
That flavor, though, let me tell you, it's like aspartame meets horse blanket. It's real good.
Any chance it was aged in a bourbon barrel?
This was aged in a water barrel outside of a market bat. No, it's Shaw's. No, but I was forcing myself. I had a beer in the fridge. I had the Baxter bootleg fireworks, for fireworks and whatever. So the thought was there, but I can't risk it. So for the first time, I'm drinking not beer tonight, which sucks ass, but screw it. We're going to continue with this thing, and I still want to do it. Let's go to Sean first and check out the thing behind Sean. Tell us a little bit about that. And can you even look at Vanna White?
Jesus.
I don't know which way.
You muted?
He's muted, but I want him to talk too. Get out.
Sorry. Yes, behind me you'll see the happy 100th episode Seacoast Beverage Lab podcast sign made by Amber. She put that together tonight. She moved all of our knickknacks and flowers and stuff to make a little beer collage right behind us. And she only put up breweries of people who have been guests on the show.
Oh, cool! Can you give us a tour of the shelf there?
So, the end one in yellow is the new beer from Baxter Brewing.
Bootleg fireworks? What?
Yeah, and then you have Cigar City High Lie, Alchemist Heady Topper, a little Foolproof, Backyard, Sebago, the local harvest.
Nice, sweet. So I'm sure Amber's gonna be posting on Instagram, right?
It will be posted on Instagram.
Good stuff right there. And what are you drinking, good sir, if you haven't said already?
Yes, tonight I'm actually drinking a Erastus, which is a Belgian-style triple, coming in at 8% from Schilling Brewing Company.
And you went today, right?
Today. This is fresh off the taps today.
Jesus, that's a long trip, my friend.
Delicious.
What kind of beer is it?
Belgian-style triple.
Tasty?
Very tasty. This is like one of their most popular ones. At every brew fest, they make sure that they bring this style. There's this nice little string thing goes to it.
Awesome. I think I have a craving for beer, so if you guys can talk for 20 minutes, Sean will be showing up there in 2 shakes. As the train rolls by, I'm hopping on this train to get there right now. Carla, what is going on?
Hey, all. Carla at Beer Babe. If you don't know that by now, then, you got 99 episodes to learn that. I am drinking, actually, a Rising Tide Polaris, which, if I'm not mistaken, is actually their Ursa Minor that is barrel aged. So they release this once a year. Awesome, bourbon-y, like dark fruit, everything. It's so good, so rich. But I accidentally, but I guess not accidentally, bought 2 of them. So I'm opening one now and probably have another one on Christmas. So.
It's awesome. I got one down there. I shared one with Rick Brews about 2 weeks ago, and man, it's as good as ever. It's awesome. Actually, the first time I had it this year was with Sean and you. So there you go.
Awesome. And they were also podcast guests.
And don't kid yourself. I'm gonna list them, like all the thank yous and all that crap in a second, but. Don't change your channels, and it just like out of a weird soap opera, the guy that you thought died came back out of nowhere. Mike Meredith, what's up, my friend? Thank you for coming back for the number hundo.
I wouldn't miss it for the world. I am happy to be here. As you all know, this is the I haven't been around for a while, but I'm back for the 100th episode for my new digs in Beverly, Massachusetts. So I've left the Witch City. Tonight I'm doing a little ode to the homeland. I'm drinking a People's Pint Provider Ale. So I'm very happy to be tasting a little Western Mass tonight. So
also guest on the podcast from whatever, but yeah, Sean from whatever episode whatever.com. Sean, you
I
are
just want to mention.
Yeah, you're the head of the chat. What's going on in the chat?
You can go to join us in the chat if you're watching it live. Right now we have Johnny Beer, Jomo Bono, JS in Portland, and Mr. Rick Bruce.
Rick
Bruce. Rick Bruce.
Man, in the house. And we got a lot of people drinking stuff in there too. What do we got? We have Jay's drinking a Eureka. What's that? Hill Farmstead? Maybe. And that we also have a Johnny Beer's drinking a Flower Child IPA. Rick Bruce drinking a Stone Hopulization.
Ooh.
So,
Stoneface.
Stoneface. Yep. The face was silent for some reason on my voice. But yeah, so a lot of good beers in the chat. And yeah, big thanks to the chat for sticking with us for 100 episodes. I guess we'll just hop right into it. Jesus, what do you do in 100 episodes? You talk about what happened in the last 100 episodes, but I do have a map that I want to put up on the screen. We can kind of talk about the guests we've had on this show before. Let me pop this up there. So on secretsbeveragelab.com, you can go, or SBLPodcast.com, you can go to the map or the guest list, and it lists all the guests. And it's a pretty crazy looking map. So these are all the guests we've had on our show that are either brewers or in the brewing industry. And as you can see, it's kind of like chicken pox across the U.S. We've pretty much not necessarily covered all just New England beers, but we've pretty much done a service and covered some Midwest, some West Coast and stuff. I guess we can just go down the line and kind of say like our big thank yous. So how about we all start down on number 1, and actually,
thank you to our first guest.
Yeah, no. So yeah, we'll go to. I'm going to the guest list here, and if we all want to just name off like 10 apiece, because there's 45. So I'll read off the first 10 guests we had, and then Sean, you can read the second, and then
sure.
So on and so forth. Sweet. So our first guest on the show was Dave Sikorsky, formerly of Blue Lobster Brewing Company, and he was our pilot episode. So episode number 1 out of the gate, we had a brewer. Don't kid yourself, because that's how we do things here at the Seacoast Beverage Lab podcast. He is now opening up his own brewery in Newmarket, New Hampshire, which is coming in hot. Like it's getting there. His posts on Facebook are updating, and it's happening. So don't.
Yeah, there's a building actually being built. Very cool to follow. Like, because he lives around the corner from where it's being constructed. So I think whenever he's a little stressed out, he just walks up there and takes pictures of the progress of the construction. So he's just a major kudos out to him. And whenever his beer comes out, go get it, because he makes some excellent stuff.
Hell yes. And then we had our second time we had a guest was episode number 6. We had Nathan and Heather Sanborn of Rising Tide, and that was 2 years ago. And what did they just celebrate? Their 3-year?
Yeah, I think it was the 3?
4.
No, 4. You're right. 4 years.
Yeah, 4th anniversary.
So they're out of Portland, Maine. And yep. So they're huge. Cars got a beer.
They are a force up here. If you're coming to Portland at all, they definitely have to be on your top 3 of where you need to visit while you're up here. I tell people that all the time. Not a lot of people know of them, outside of New England, but man, are they worth it? Come up, check them out.
And if you missed one of the recent episodes, they had just won. Was it Small Business of the Year for Portland?
Yeah. Yep. And they've really. I think they've really been responsible for kind of remaking the neighborhood that they're in and really encouraging a lot of small businesses to move into that area. It's become a really happening place, even just since I've been here. It's changing, but really Rising Tide is the first one to kind of take venture into that neighborhood and really did everything they could to support it. So they're very community oriented in like the most genuine way, not in the like, oh yeah, we give back to our community, but like they really made that community, and I got to give them props for that. It's awesome.
Then shortly after that, episode 10, we had Tom Bull, formerly of the former Bull Jagger Brewing Company, because it's not fun. It's actually our only brewery I believe that doesn't exist anymore. Correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I think so. And then the sad part too is that not that they went out of business, but they closed for crappy reasons. So it's not that we had a bummer brewery on.
Yeah.
Just it didn't work out with them, which sucks.
They had a strict no podcast clause and tried to sneak
It was
them in
broken.
there.
Whoops.
No dice. And then our fourth guest, episode 13, was Dan Canary, co-owner of Harpoon Brewery. He's actually one of two people, right? Yeah, one of two brewers that were on the show twice.
Yes.
And
I would say that episode I was pretty impressed.
it was good
Yeah.
stuff.
I think that for us it was kind of like that episode was like, hey, here's a reason why we're doing it. I don't think it really took a lot to pull him. Obviously, it didn't take a lot to pull any information from him, but he had great stories, and it was just like a conversation. We were sitting next to each other.
Yeah.
That was a really fun episode.
Very personable.
Then my first on the road thing was when I was still trying to like get people to talk to us about the show or just talk about the brewery. I had taken a work trip out to Kansas City, and I took a 3.5 hour drive from Kansas City to Manhattan, Kansas, to talk to Jeff Gill out in Tallgrass Brewing Company. So that was audio only. It was just me out there talking to him, but it's still part of the show because I was still kind of trying to get interviews for the show. Cool guy, cool brewery. I believe their new tap room's open, and if you haven't seen their cans of holy moly, Zombie Monkey, 8-Bit Pale Ale, which is like Pac-Man. They're great cans, and they're an all-can brewery. So check them out, Tallgrass, if you're out wherever you can get them. And then episode 14, we had Dan Paquette of Pretty Things, who also just celebrated their 6th year, Sean?
Yes.
And you were at their party, and they're gangbusters. So.
And that was a fun episode because it was like we were part of their team Christmas party.
Yeah, so they were like passing us around the room, saying hi to everybody, and there was gingerbread being made and all kinds of craziness happening at the same time, but still taking the time to give us the info about what they were up to.
Sweet. Now where the hell am I? Oh yeah. And then episode number 15, Chris Loring of Notch. It was our first look into a contract brewer. Nope, second look because Pretty Things. Spoiler alert. All right.
They were a gypsy.
Oh yeah, Jibs. Okay, good call.
They were not really a contract. They were a, hey, do you have a tank we could use? Like.
Yes.
Just like that. Hey man, if you're not using it.
Hey, that's what it sounded like.
I know. So good. Gypsy.
So, and then our very first on-site was myself, Mike, Sean, and Norm. We were invited to the Sam Adams Brewery, episode number 16, and it was crazy. We were talking to Jennifer Glanville there and had some good beers, some good food, and it was a good time. Mike and I got caught in some crazy-ass traffic on the way there. So they're like, shit, and then they wanted to end before a football game or something. So, yeah, we had to.
Or something.
But yeah, so and Carla, you missed it, but hey, I think they'll have his back. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But after that was Jeff Leiter of Slum Brew, episode number 20, and I believe Caitlin was on the same episode. She appeared on that as well, and she was also on recently, so she's been on twice.
Yeah, and then we got to hear what was cool about them being on twice is so that first time with Jeff was in 2013 where, this new space that they're opening now in Somerville was basically only a twinkle in their eye, and they've come so far to kind of get that done. Just to see those two episodes kind of a year, basically a little bit less than a year apart, but like to see how far they've come, totally awesome. Like, they're great people, and I love that we got a chance to see them kind of before the big thing happened to them and then just immediately before it all happened, and just to share their enthusiasm about it was really, really cool. And if you guys haven't checked out that site yet down there, it is pretty awesome. They have like a tasting thing going on down there, and they've taken these shipping containers and converted them in this really awesome space. So they're also kind of movers and shakers of making Somerville into a different place to be as well. So cheers to that.
I went there last week, and I know Sean and Amber, you've been there. It's
I went the weekend before you.
it's wicked sweet. It's from the outside, it's like I'm not so sure about this place, but then you walk in, you're like, what the hell? It's actually very nice. I was shocked.
If Amber was like, hey, I'd like to go shopping in the mall, sure, I'll go with you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Just leave me there.
Yeah. Oh man! And then after that, episode number 22, we had Jack Hendler and most of the brothers Hendler were there, the Jack's Abbey crew, and just in the news today, I think Norm was writing about it. They're expanding.
Yep. Today, I saw it today.
So hot off the presses. Norm can't be here, but he surprised us with a little nugget to run with here. So that's pretty cool. Expanding again. What in the hell's going on down there?
Selling beer, making beer.
Oh, is that what it is? Oh, is that what's going on down there?
Exactly.
All right, Sean, take it from here.
Following that, I think we actually had our first guests on that were owners of a store. We had Suzanne Shallow, that's how you say it, of a craft beer cellar in Belmont.
Schlau,
I remember that episode because that was one of the ones we were trying to figure out some audio-related issues. We kind of started like from there on. We're like, you need to have an audio jack to make sure that everything's working fine.
Yep.
It was a great inside story around the craft beer cellar. Was that sort of around the time when they started their franchise options?
It was when they were. I think it was
Craft versus Crafty.
when the craft versus craft.
Craft versus Crafty.
It was the whole we're not going to sell any AB related product, Anheuser-Busch related products and things like that. So we got to actually get their straight opinion on that, and it kind of put it to bed. It was an awesome episode.
And there, just a quick comment. Even when I walked into the one in Portland, they were there, and they're like, "It's SBLPodcast guy," like so. They're super supportive, and the entire crew is awesome. So, hats off to the.
Yep.
Cheers to that.
Hit it.
Following that was our first brewery that was like in one of our houses, which was Great Rhythm Brewing. Scott and Kristen joined us from my establishment.
I think that was a surprise too. I'm like, wait a minute, move your laptop for a second.
I was like, why can I hear him in the same room? Oh.
Exactly.
So you're talking, but Sean's mic's going. What the? Nice.
Following that, we had Steve Sanderson from Riverwalk Brewing in Newburyport, which was that was a pretty fun episode of just learning about Riverwalk.
Momo and
I still have not made it down there. I really, really, really need to do like a New England beer tour. Like reading through some of these, I'm like, dang it, haven't been there. Like I really need to go.
His Imperial Stout is crazy. I just had it a couple nights ago. It was awesome.
Somebody kickstart me to take a week off and go visit all these places.
Let's go.
I'll pay for that Kickstarter, I guess.
There you go.
Awesome.
Why not do all of them at once?
Yeah,
but don't just do a Kickstarter. Do like the other ones that are very similar, and just go for 3 times the amount of money.
Patreon.
Yeah. My stretch.
Following that episode was episode 30, which was Banner Beer Company with Todd Charbonneau. I think didn't he do that one from inside the brewery?
I think so. Yeah. Well, yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think he kind of like took us around the room and showed us a little bit about what the brewery looked like. The next episode, episode 34, was Shane Welch of 6 Point Brewery. I know that was one of the ones that Norman hooked up for us, but that was a pretty fun episode. He was very passionate about the industry and a great great guest.
Yep, and I gotta admit, I think I started drinking a lot more 6 Point beer after that. Like it was one of those things that like I had known that brand existed, but I wasn't really aware of what they were all about, and it was pretty awesome.
Here's a question for Carla. You might know because wasn't the Ian from Band and Horn?
Yes,
was he working for them at that time when we were talking? Because that'd be crazy.
Ooh, I don't think so.
You don't have to dig too hard.
I would have
all right.
Because that's May of 2013, and they were in the full-on planning stages of opening by then.
Ah, okay.
So I would guess that there wasn't an overlap, but he probably knew him. I mean, it wasn't long. It's not like he worked there like 10 years ago or anything.
Right.
But I would assume that he was probably no longer there in May, considering. But I could check.
It was more of a curiosity.
Yeah, no, it's curious.
And after this episode, we kind of had a whole bunch of them in a row.
Yeah.
Where episode 35 was Helder from Backlash Beer Co., based out of Boston.
Yep.
Who's killing it? Absolutely killing it in Boston. It is awesome.
Following that was episode 37, which was Fireman's Brew.
One of my
which
favorites.
was Rob.
Yeah, he was a hoot.
That was probably the most animated episode that we've ever saw because, like, he was just running around the room, going in circles.
Was that our first product drop too? Was that the first time they sent us?
Yes.
beer?
Yes.
Very first time we got one, and then very first time Dr. Phil was ever mentioned on the show.
Exactly.
Because we asked him what it was like to be on Dr. Phil. We can get to favorite guests and superlatives after, but I think he was definitely one of the someone said energetic, but one of the coolest guys. And if you follow their Twitter or Facebook, they're everywhere now. They're huge, and it's all because of Seacoast Beverage Lab podcast.
I know.
Yeah.
So,
We didn't know anything really about the brewery or even about him, and it was very entertaining to watch.
Right. Good stuff.
Participate. The next one is actually a bonus clip where Ryan and I had an opportunity to sit down with David Walker at Firestone Walker in Portsmouth when he was in town, and we kind of just did a quick little interview of how he got started and his inspirations in the what inspired him and basically where they were going at the time. So that was a pretty fun one. I don't know if you guys have actually listened to that.
Got it. Actually, I was there, but I didn't go up. I remember I was in spirit as you guys took the man upstairs.
You just wanted to drink beer.
Oh yeah, I'm like, I would really just this
It's
guy.
too hot out. Why do I want to go talk to somebody?
I let the brothers Jansen take care of it. I knew the Jansen consulting firm could just really get,
Jansen consulting firm.
I knew they really can get to work there.
Carl, I'll let you take the next one because I wasn't there.
Okay.
Or Mike, sorry, if you were.
Yeah, go Mike.
Yeah.
All right, so we're just at
Greg.
sorry.
Greg.
Episode
Yep.
38.
Thank
I
you.
wasn't there either. So.
I'll put a link. I'll put a link in our chat, by the way. So pew pew.
Yep.
All right, so so did we just discussed Greg, right? Or
No.
are we about
No.
to? Sorry. No, okay.
There he is. Mike's back, ladies and gentlemen. He doesn't have to run a podcast anymore.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous.
Check his legs back.
So Greg was actually a really fun one from Stone Brewing because that was when we were downstairs at the Portsmouth Brewery.
Correct. And we went to Smutty Nose too. You, me, and Norm.
Yes, we did.
Was that he came into town for his collaboration beer, right?
Oh yeah.
Was it
Yeah.
Cluster's Last Stand?
Closest last stand.
Last stand. Yes.
Yeah, and then we checked out what Smutty Nose's new brewery is now when it was in the construction stages. So it was pretty nuts now that I think about it. And the next one was actually one of my all-time favorites that we did, which was Sam Casioni from Dog
Oh
Fish.
yeah. Yep.
Yeah, we went for a good run for a while. We had some back-to-back 1-2 punches.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then let's see, coming up after that we have Bill Herlica from White Birch, New Hampshire, fun one.
I'll be the one to comment. It'll be a brewery to watch in 2015. There's been a lot of moving.
You've been making a lot of changes lately. I noticed.
A lot of moving, a lot of shuffling, but a lot of beer still on the shelves. So it's brewery to watch 2015.
And interestingly enough, there's a lot of former employees that he's helped mentor.
Oh
that
yeah.
are now either like head brewers of the locations or have been opening their own breweries.
Yeah, I mean we talked to a couple. Chris Shea worked there.
Yep.
Sokolsky worked there.
Yep.
Anyone else we have on this thing?
Those are the two I know of, but
Yes,
there's
and-
more.
There's one that's opening up a brewery in Portsmouth coming up soon.
Oh yeah, you gotta talk about that later.
Yeah, well,
I want to hear this. Scoop.
all right, coming up after this. Weather on the 8th. Go
More
Mike.
than 10. Next after that we had for episode 41 we had the ladies of Throwback. We had Nicole and Annette.
Yeah, girl power.
Exactly.
Boo.
Represent.
No.
Was that I think other than Caitlin from Slum Brewer, that might have been our first female brewing guests.
Yeah, episode 29 we had Heather
Oh, you're right.
Van den Engel
Yeah.
from Honest Pint.
Sanborn.
No, oh yeah, and Sanborn too.
Oh yeah, Sanborn
Same,
was. Oh
different
yeah,
heaven.
that's right. That's right. They were both on. Okay.
Yep.
Well,
Yep.
these are both those the dual brewing, female-owned brewery. I'm always like, yes.
Hell yeah.
All right. Let's see. After that, episode 44, we found ourselves going to Night Shift Brewing, or we didn't go there rather, but we had them on the show. That's
Love
Michael
their
Meyer
beer.
and Rob Burns. So
Yes. That
Love
was a
their
good one.
beer, man. They're good people, and they make some really tasty stuff.
they really do.
Their new breweries kick
You
ass.
need to come to Maine. I have said this every time they get mentioned. I want their beer.
You can get it. Maybe they'll come to New Hampshire first.
I'll trade you for something cool, but
Brian, these days you never know.
It is very true.
You never know.
Christmas Kringle, am I right?
Chris Kringle. Let's see. Episode 45. This is almost at the 1 year mark, right? If I'm not mistaken. 8, 11, 13.
Yep.
So that's almost a couple days off. But we had Jeremy Goldberg of the Cape Ann Brewing Company, so North Shore favorite. Literally stone's throw away from my office, so that's always fun. And now we have a deal with them where we are able to actually have their beer on tap in our office. So that's,
Yes.
fun.
nice.
Yeah, one of the perks. Then we made ourselves, let's see, we had Foolproof. So we had Demas Olson of Foolproof Brewing on. That was a good time. Rhode Island represent.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
and he
he's
used to be Penachuk.
yeah, I mean, he had some good roots on him.
Yeah,
Not hair wise, but like beer roots.
yeah. He's one of those guys.
It was
He's one
going
of those
bald,
guys
but-
too that's just been. He's one of those guys too that's just been like quietly making awesome beer for quite a while, and then they start listing off like where they've been doing stuff, and you're like, oh, like. So very good brews coming out of there.
Then our second product drop with Uinta. So we got some bottles and a nice little package from them, to enjoy on the show with Steve, the VP at Uinta Brewing Co., which was a lot of fun, because they're a brand that's just continuing to grow and just awesome stuff out of there. So I was very happy. I'm always happy when a package of beer shows up on my front porch.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
That was also our first west of the Mississippi brewery.
That's true.
Yes. Well, Stone.
Okay.
But I mean, I guess he was calling in from there, so I guess we'll call it official.
Yeah, the interview happened with with Stone in Portsmouth, so
Yeah. If so facto.
yeah, maybe here, maybe there. Another North Shore, Massachusetts favorite, the Newburyport Brewing Company. So we had Chris Webb on. That was a good one. He did that straight from the brewery, right? So it was.
Yeah.
I believe so. And then if you look at the map, I mean, you could, if you had a sweet arm, like, Roger Clemens, you could probably throw a stone between the two breweries.
You could.
Yep.
You probably actually could.
Or between them and Riverwalk, so.
Yeah, between the two Newburyport Brewing Companies.
Yeah, so cool.
And we had everybody's favorite Chris Shea from Henniker Brewing Company on. So he came on and showed us what he was all about.
I mean, technically we had him on twice, right? Because we messed up one, and we had to do it again, so. Cool.
That was our first slap on the wrist from a guest.
This is our first do it over.
As our first thanks, Google.
Our first, what do you mean I'm not getting interviewed? Here's another West Coast one for you, Sean. Ken Grossman. Anybody ever heard of him?
That was
cool. I missed
With a
that
sweet
one.
guest. Sweet, what's it called? Sex special appearance?
Yeah.
I missed all of the West Coast guys. I wasn't on Greg. I wasn't on Uinta or Ken Grossman. I missed them.
Because we had a special appearance by Russian River guy.
Yep. Oh, yeah, he was just there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was just like, oh, hey, I'm going to say hi. It's like, what? Okay.
Pops in.
Sure.
That's so fun. And next we had Cigar City. That's a typo. Cigar City.
Oh, no. The
Wham.
podcast is canceled.
For a second, I was like, did I miss something? I don't remember a Cigar City.
What are you reading? I don't even see Cigar.
It's the title, not the description.
No, he's already edited it.
Oh, son of a.
Yeah.
No, I'm looking at something else.
So we had Wayne, the brewmaster at Cigar City on. He came on. That was when we didn't get. Oh, that's what it was. Product was given to you, Sean, and then we divvied it up. I remember that.
Right.
Down there in the Cappy's Park.
But we had it was Wayne and
Yeah, there was two.
Yeah, there was another guy.
But he definitely gets the award for best name on our podcast.
Wayne
Wayne
Wambles.
Wambles. Fucking
Yeah,
great name.
that's an amazing name. That's an amazing name. I like it.
Sounds like a comic book character. Like he should be like Peter Parker's neighbor. And then Wayne Wambles, the Green Goblin. I'm sorry, I'm not making fun of him.
Yeah. We'll never have him on again.
Lost that one. Then on episode 54, we found ourselves with The Alchemist. So John Kimmich of The Alchemist came on and talked shop with us.
Nice.
Then after that we had Prodigal, Paul Davis. Still honestly one of the best Oktoberfests I've ever had in my life.
Yep.
So hats up there. And then everybody's favorite, the dynamic duo Alex and Butch from Earth Eagle Brewing.
But what was the best part about this video? I wasn't hosting, so I passed the host duties to Mike. And if you go and watch the video, the entire video is of Mike's face while everyone else talks.
Which was my faux pas.
Truly my favorite experience.
It was my fault.
And I was watching it live because I was out in the Pennsylvania at the time, and I'm like, something's not going right here. But it was fine. Hey, the audio came in fine, but it was just
you never told me that if you click on someone, it sticks on them the whole time.
Because you see a lot of this, like just like looking around, and like as other people are talking, it's like, oh no. Hey,
I just didn't know.
But that was the first time hosting duties were passed. Again, episode whatever.
Last time hosting duties were passed.
For sure. Then I know I gotta reel this thing in and take it back. So, Carla, why don't you take it off from here?
All right. Next up, episode 58 was Dave Clement of Maine Beer Company, and I actually went to Maine Beer and did it kind of in their office there with them, which was really kind of with him, which was really kind of funny. They were having another event, so I was like in the back room, like with that talk. But they're obviously a very well-known brewery in Maine for their lunch, particularly their beer. But they had a lot to say about their philosophy about brewing good beer and doing things in a community, because they donate a lot of their proceeds to charities of various types, and they kind of talked a lot about their philosophy. I thought it was cool. The next three episodes what I call the Wave of Chris's. The most common first name for all of our guests was Chris, so we had Chris Sellers, Chris Shea, and Chris Tapp. Chris Sellers from the People Point joined us for episode 60. Chris Shea from Henniker came back for we called it 50.2 because it was the redo of the other one. And then Chris Jack of Idle Hands joins the show, and that was cool for me personally because Idle Hands, I met them when they were still like a brewery in planning at some little event down in Cambridge, and that's also where I met Norm for the first time. Wow. Yeah, so it was one of those things that I was like,
that's a crazy side note.
Have a brewery now. That's cool because that was a long time ago. But they had like business cards and nothing else, you know what I mean? Like one of those people that were planning and hadn't gotten there yet, but it was pretty awesome to see them come on. But at
the time it was kind of rare because it was not rare, but there was all these Belgian centric breweries starting up at the same time, where Backlash was sort of kind of in there a little bit, but then really Chris with Idle Hands was full-blown primary Belgian beers.
Yep. And they're doing pretty well, so I'm excited for them. It's very awesome. So actually, this is a good. I'm glad you guys gave me this section because these are mostly Maine breweries.
Right.
Carl, before you mention that, I just want to say one thing.
Yeah.
I didn't realize on episode 65 that the Crowler would come to New Hampshire.
What was episode 65? Oh, we were talking about the Crowler?
Yeah, that's what it's titled.
Oh, is that
right. Little did we know. And oh, God, it's still in my fridge. I want to crack it open right now. Anyway.
So did you guys ever see the bow tie cans? Where did they ever go? I never saw one in real life.
I have some.
Yeah, I wore it to my wedding.
Oh, okay. I just missed out. Apparently, I wasn't.
They were impossible to crush on your forehead.
Oof.
Ooh, ow.
Wait, it seems quite the contrary, though.
Yeah, it should be.
No,
it should be
it's
less structurally sound than a cylinder.
Meant it to be that way.
Oh my God! They made a can that you couldn't crush over your head.
Oh,
Yeah.
no wonder it didn't do well.
So it's not about being a bow tie. It's about so they can't do. Oh, forget it.
Oh man.
Just leaves a big dent with a can on it.
Sounds like Grains of Paradise to me, Sean. I don't know about that. Smoke and mirrors.
Uh,
Sorry,
so
Carla. I just want to mention that.
So
about the
66, we had Oxbow Brewing Company's Tim Adams, and it's Time Adams on our show notes, which is awesome as well.
Okay, first of all, you guys are reading the wrong show notes.
Okay, fine. Send me a new link then.
All right, I will.
I'm reading the one that's live to the public. So, Oxbow
Show
Brewing
notes taking a
Company.
dive since episode 3, so don't worry.
Tim Adams, also very cool to talk with them about their philosophy before they actually very recently opened up their new place down in Portland, a tasting room down there. Just these guys have a very clear vision, and it was really neat to hear from them. Same also with Luke Livingston, who currently has an ear infection.
Oh, wait a second. I just want to say that show taught me what cow shit corner was.
Oh
Yes,
yeah, cow shit
exactly.
corner.
I didn't know what that was beforehand.
Yes.
Yes, cow shit corner. And following them, 68, Baxter Brewing Company was Luke Livingston, who came from a beer writing background and a business background and opened up a very successful brewery in Maine. Currently homesick with an ear infection, so sorry, Luke.
Oh man, feel
Yep.
better.
Yep. But he's killing it in Maine. I mean, they've expanded like I don't know how many times now. So that's pretty awesome. I don't think I was on the Boulevard Brewing Company one, so anybody want to give us a little summary of that guy?
Yes, it's the guy who loved goats, right?
That's right.
So one thing people don't know about Jeremy Danner is he's a big goat fan, and unfortunately, and I didn't even click at the time because I knew this going into the show. I had a shirt. I was wearing a shirt on the show that had a goat on it, and it killed me that I didn't realize it as we were doing the show.
Oh
So,
man.
If Jeremy, if you rewatch, I was wearing a Daniel Bryan WWF shirt. It had a goat on it, so much love.
Oh man.
No, Mike and I saw him at the ACBF this past year. So he does make his way to this neck of the woods, which is cool to see.
What we remember of the ACBF.
Oh, for sure, yeah. I mean, he was there.
He might be the only one that I've ever met. I wasn't a person, but ever met that tweets more than Norm.
Ah, yes.
But no one tweets more than me.
No, Jeremy tweets a lot.
It's good stuff.
I don't know. We'll compare numbers later when we're taking. I'll look later.
Let's go to the numbers.
Let's go to the numbers because that's what I'll do in New York.
Normers.
So 71, we mentioned him earlier, but Ian McConnell opened up Bandit Horn Brewing, first brewery in Biddeford, Maine, one of those like old mill towns that was kind of meh before, and now they're like all about this. They also had a Kickstarter where they basically ran around and interviewed like everyone who was important in Biddeford, and they were like, this would be the best thing for Biddeford ever, which I thought was adorable. Successful Kickstarter. They have a really cool space in an old like textile mill building. And they've been coming out with some really good stuff. They have this Norweald stout, kicks butt. So shout out to Maine there. For 75, we had Brian Greenhagen from Mystic Brewery, and
Yes.
you guys talk about Mystic a lot. And I miss out on a lot of their beers, but that was definitely a fun.
But this
fun
was
show.
this is one of the most informative ones, right? Because
Yeah.
it was like they don't brew the beer. Well, they make a mash and then they drive the mash to be pitched, to have yeast pitched in it. Like it was one of the coolest, methods of brewing.
Yeah, it's a very different setup. Like very, very cool.
Hot wart down the highway. Should have called that. Never mind.
I'm gonna throw some hot work down the hallway.
Ugh.
It would smell good for the first 5 minutes.
Yeah. That's the name of my new book.
Hot word.
Just pictures of wart spillage.
Oh, that's the saddest thing ever. Okay.
Well, I got a new game. I got to write that down.
So I wish I had the time and someone would pay me the dime to figure out how many times before episode 75 we mentioned that Todd Mott was going to have his own brewery, because I feel like we talked about it almost every week.
Yes.
And he finally got on with us as he was just wrapping up those plans for Tributary Brewing, so he came on, told us all about what they were doing, and it was only, I think it was just a couple weeks, like maybe a month or so before they opened officially.
Yeah.
We also had a unexpected cameo from Mike LaCharité, who we had as a guest later, because I had to do the podcast from someplace with Wi-Fi and beer, so I picked Lively Brewing Company because it was on my way home, and we kind of got a little bit invaded by LaCharité, who also had to
Yes.
put in his 2 cents, but also to congratulate Todd too for what he was doing. So that was cool.
Does he only ever have 2 cents though?
No, it was probably more like 20 cents.
It's like a pocket full of change. Yeah.
But that's okay. But I am I'm happy to
That would
report
have a great name for a show.
that the beer down at Tributary's been flowing for since late this summer, and it's been kicking butt.
Oh yeah.
Just their plain old pale ale is really, really good. I haven't had a lot of the other variety of stuff they've had. I think, they made a Berliner Weiss at one point, and they've made a pumpkin and a couple of other things. Nothing resembling Kate the Great yet.
It's in the tanks.
But it's in the tanks. That's
Yes.
what I was about to say. It's on the docket, but I figured it's probably actually in the tanks by now. So
I was there with BM Watts and Rick Brews on Sunday, and he was pointing to. He's like, that one right there.
nice.
Yeah,
Did he
as I
say
tried
when
to
it
sneak.
was gonna come out?
Hmm?
Did he say when it was going to come out?
No, he didn't say. He didn't say. But I gave him a stare down, and I'm like, you tell me right now. He said, you get out of my brewery. I'm like, all right.
And you woke
He
up.
hugged and kissed you.
Yeah, like, get over here. But no, actually, and Rick Brews brought this up, and I hope he's still watching, because this isn't necessarily throwing him under the bus, but he made a mention that Todd Mott, since leaving the Portsmouth Brewery and opening up his brewery, has lost a ton of weight. So, brewing kids, it's a good workout.
Stress is a good workout. What it is.
It was probably stress, but it's true. But but he brought his brewer with him at the main fresh thing.
From Victory.
That was cool. Joe?
John? Joe?
I posted about it recently, but I forget.
No.
I forget
But I trust in both of their brewing skills just because their pedigree. So I can't wait for that Kate-ish thing. Did he keep the name? He kept the name, right? So this is going to be. Yeah.
He owns the name, but whether he uses the name, that's a different question.
That's
Wait. Who owns the name?
Todd.
No.
No.
Peter owns the name.
He owns the recipe.
Okay, so he owns the recipe, so it's going to be called something else.
Yes,
Okay.
it's basically the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, who's on first?
Yeah.
Call it Kate the Greater.
Mark
Yep.
Summers. So.
For episode
I don't know why I thought of that.
Episode 79, we ended up with Keith from Medusa Brewing. Where are they located again? I was trying to remember this.
In Hudson, Mass. Look at that map right there. Oh, you can't because it's not shared.
But here's
Right there. There you go.
here's the first episode that we broke rule number 1.
Yes.
This is the first episode that we broke rule number 1. Rule number 1 being is that we didn't have any guests that were a brewery until they were actually a brewery.
Right.
This was a brewery show for Medusa Brewing Company before they even started a brewery, which is weird.
Yeah.
I thought from like an interview, I was like, well, how's the brewing going? It's like, well, we're not brewing yet. Well, what are you gonna get?
Which was cool because from that aspect we had more questions. I mean, we've asked the same questions to those that have already opened a brewery, but it's kind of cool to see like in the eyes of the only thing we couldn't do with them is moment of Zen question, which we'll get to in a couple minutes. But we couldn't ask them, what are the struggles? But I don't know.
Right. You can't have advice on something if you have never ever done it yet.
Right.
Or I guess you can, but it's a little less meaningful. So following him, we talked about earlier episode 81 was Michael Sheridan. We got him his own setup, and he came in from his brewery, like sitting in front of his copper tanks, which is kind of cool.
He kept having people bring him beer, which is awesome.
Yeah, like every once in a while, someone would just walk in the room and like hand him a beer. It's like that's pretty awesome. And he was interesting because not only does he know the brewing side, he has a brewing history and is now a brewer for Lively Brewing or Lively Brewing. But he also works in fabricating brewing systems for all these up-and-coming breweries. So it was really neat to kind of grill him a little bit about what that side of the business is like and you know, kind of what he sees going on as trends and, you know, where he's seeing the beer community going. And I thought that was cool. It's always neat to talk to more people who are like in different parts of the brewing universe other than just like head brewing, you know. That's cool. And then recently, the most recent guest that we've had on was Dean from Treehouse, and he was a hoot. He was episode 87. Had some really good life advice in his episode, but he was just a fun interview. He was kind of like the fireman's brew guy, because it just never really knew what was going to come out of his mouth next, and that was cool.
And actually,
Carl,
Carl,
yeah.
we did miss one. I forgot to put on the list because it was so recent. Look at our chats.
Yep, hold on.
Just our
Oh,
chat.
yeah, duh.
That was like
finally,
last week.
just like I wish I could count the number of times that Todd Mott was mentioned before he came on. I wish I could count the number of times that I tried to get Kai on before he got on. So we had, with one of the more recent episodes, I think it was 89, we had Kai Adams from Sebago Brewing Company. If you've been watching the podcast at all, you guys know I'm a huge fan of those guys. And we finally got to hear kind of what he had to say. And what was cool about having him on is that, you know, compared to some of the other New England breweries we've had on, he definitely is a veteran. You know, he's been around a long time. Their brewery's been open since the 90s. And he has a, you know, kind of a cool perspective that's not just this new, oh yeah, we've been open a year, woo, you know, like, so he had some awesome stuff to say, also brewing some great beers, so yeah, so I did not mean to forget you, Kai, on that list, but it was so recent, it was just so awesome, burned into my brain, and didn't come out, but yeah.
And holy hell, that does it for we had 45, and I was saying earlier to myself, 100 episodes, 45 guests, that's not too shabby for, you know, every other episode you're more than willing to come on the show, a brewer, that'd be cool. So maybe 200, we'll get 75 brewers?
That'd be cool.
A call to all brewers. Be on the show.
Yeah, and
Casting call.
Okay, and in all seriousness, you know, if you're watching this and you know somebody who's a brewer, if you're a brewer yourself and you feel like, you know, you want to talk to us about what you're about and what your philosophy is, and you know, and let us ask you a couple of awesome questions and a couple of silly ones, give us a shout, drop us a line. You know, we'd love to have. We're not restricted to New England. We're not. You know, we're not.
Right.
You know, just solely by itself. You know, looking for just the people we know. You know, if we don't know you, we'd still love to talk to you guys. So.
We would like to try it here. I mean, if it's not sold in New England, we'd still like to give it a try.
Right.
Yep.
Oh yeah, and I mean, on the map, I've listed a couple too. We've talked to a couple of our beer blogger buddies like Chatta up in Bangor, Maine. We've talked to Raise Your Pines. We've talked to Craig Hendry down in Mississippi.
Yeah.
We've even talked to Dukester on the Twitters out in Portland. So we've also talked to Alan from Montana on the show. So of Growler Fills. So
we've had JT as a guest.
Yep, JT's gone on from NH Brewers, Smarty Nose.
John Hall, beer author.
Yep. What's his name? Josh Bernstein.
Josh Bernstein. He's a fun guy.
Yep. He's a mushroom here. Never mind.
I just got that. Oh my god.
This is lowbrow comedy you're gonna get from me. Sorry. Oh god. But yes, Sean was talking about some superlatives in the chat. Did you get any feedback?
Yeah, we had one that said, hold on, we'll get there.
Because oddly enough, and hopefully in episodes 101 to 200, I'll find a different chat room because literally at the same time 7 people dropped out of our chat room, so I don't know what's happening with the chat. So I'll fix it.
I think one of the episodes that kind of put us on the beer map was definitely the Alchemist episode with John Kimmich. And people may not know that there was certain topics that we weren't allowed to discuss during that episode, which really didn't actually even bother us, though, because we had no issue not talking about the flooding and the losing the brewery and that type of stuff, but really kind of got an insight from the Alchemist about what was going on and where they were going next. And I think it was very early on about in the truck shows, even before they started doing it, that was their goal, and they kind of mentioned it on our show, which was great. But that's where we first had Johnny Beer starting following us and coming and participating on the show on Monday nights, and
nice.
He was a frequent commenter and participator, and he kind of liked us. In just kind of his own words, he said, "I like it when you guys have guests, but some of my favorite shows are when you guys are just chatting about beer, when bullshitting about what's going on in the industry right now, and kind of just giving a perspective of the news that's out there, and just kind of giving an update about our local scene and national scene."
It's awesome. Big fan of the feedback, Johnny Beer. And as always, thanks for coming in the chat.
Cheers to Johnny Beer.
Cheers, Johnny Beer. Yeah, raise your glass, or your solo cup full of seltzer, whatever you got. I could have poured it in like a Spiegelau. Jeez, get classy for 100, right?
I got my Spiegelau out for 100.
Oh, nice. Spiegelau.
As did I.
What is Spiegelau? So
it's one of the finest glasses in the world.
Oh, but what is that accent? oh, there it is. Of course it was. So we'll do a couple quick hits from each of us, and then I want Carla, if you have a couple things to say about the, I don't want to put you on the spot, but about the Moments of Zen.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe we can do a little discussion. Let's go down the line and pick like 2 or 3 of your favorite episodes. They're all obviously awesome, but I'll start to give you guys some time to think. I haven't really thought about it, but the ones the ones that honestly come to mind are the ones where the guests are super interactive, and as we were mentioning before, Dan Canary was super responsive. He wasn't just a wall that we were talking to, and for a man of such caliber in the brewing industry, it was very cool to have him kind of down to our level and talk to us as people, and it was kind of like, oh, cool, these guys are just as awesome as other brewers. Like it was very cool that he answered our questions nicely and was just sitting in his house. He wasn't like in a business suit and next to a beer bottle,
And he had someone serving him beer, which was great too.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I thoroughly enjoyed the obviously on-site at Sam Adams, because that was the first time where someone's like, hey, come do it at our brewery, and that was one of the only few times where we done one there. So that's kind of like one of the coolest ones that I like to do was that. And let's see here. What else did I enjoy? Enjoyed all of them.
Don't take all of ours, dude.
Oh, sorry, just 2? All right. So, I'm going to pick 100. No, yeah, Dan Canary, and I did enjoy the Sam Adams one, because it was a cool like tip of the cap early on in our podcasting career, saying, come on, do the show here. Carla, go.
All right, for me, definitely one of them was Sam Calagione, just because, he was probably one of the first ones. I wasn't there for the Greg Cook thing, but he was one of the first ones where I was like, wow, we got somebody that people, like, he was, like, famous. He's writing books, and, people know him very, very well. And he was also just really down to earth, very cool. Was joking with me. At the time, I used to have archery equipment behind me on the wall. And I asked him a question, and he said, "I don't know if I get it wrong, you're gonna shoot me." It was awesome. It was very fun. Wicked laid back, but also just very informative. And he's a very cool guy. And every time I think I've met him in person just a handful of times. But every time he remembers, he knows who we were, and thanked us for having him on. So it was very cool. Also, really enjoy. I know some of one of the other ones that I know. I think somebody else is going to pick it, so I'll let that go. But I said it earlier, but both of the times we had Slumbrew on, Jeff once and Caitlin once, just was awesome. It was a neat times to be snapshotting with them and to hear their aspirations in the first, in 2013, and then to hear them now in 2014 and see them come to fruition. That was just really fulfilling. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, totes.
Yeah.
So how about Mike?
I think my absolute favorite guest had to have been Sam from Dogfish.
That's all right.
As you see, you hear about how such a dynamic force he is in the industry, and how he's always spicing things up and challenging the status quo, and how he's just a passionate guy. And you always have to wonder, like that, are people really like that? And he was just a really nice guy, like straight up, a very nice human being, like that, and very seemed very passionate, very genuine, during the show, and we definitely valued him, taking the time out of his schedule to. I think he showed us around his house a little bit too. Like he showed. Remember, like he held like the laptop around, and he was just like, "Oh, look, this is where I am going to be." And then obviously on site when we checked out the new Smelly Nose Brewery with Greg from Stone, and then interviewing him at the Portsmouth Brewery before the dinner at the Sheridan was awesome.
That was an epic din-dins.
Yes. It was a busy day. Now that I think about it.
God, that was a wicked busy day. Ugh.
Hot as hell too. Remember, for like a May day.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was definitely hot. Oh yeah, because it was June, the mids of June.
It was June. It was, yeah. And my favorite, I guess not, show, but event on the show is when Norm's Christmas tree fell down. And I thought. Thank
you for reminding me about bringing that up. So the entire clip, it's only like 10 seconds, is on my YouTube page, or on the show's YouTube page. The best thing that ever happened on this show, ever. We had a packed house because it was all 5 of us plus changed his Twitter name. It's at Brandon Carter, and BM Moss was on the show, and just boom, tree came down 2 years ago. So awesome. And it sounded like someone literally kicked open the door and used a shotgun.
Glad it wasn't that, but
that was good stuff.
Definitely my favorite.
Shano, faves, raves and faves.
Yeah, and I feel a little pressure for whatever Carla said that she wasn't going to mention a show because someone else was.
I'll do it if you don't say it.
No, mention it. You mention it first, Carla, and then
Okay, well, I really, really like the Fireman Brew one, just because he was so animated and so ridiculous, and also my brother works for the FDNY, so I was just geeking out on his enthusiasm and his energy. So I know we had mentioned that earlier, but that one just stuck out to me as somebody who, not that he didn't take it seriously being a brewer, but like he just had fun. You could tell this guy, it was passionate as hell and was just a fun guy, and it was Rob, I think is his name, from Fireman's Brew. It's just there's very contagious energy. So I remember laughing quite a lot in that episode.
And that was one of those shows where I mean we all had the feeling of like we know now why we're doing it because we got some sort of emotion out of it that was like pretty exciting and we had no idea that could have been the biggest dud of a show.
Totally.
Oh my God. It could have been.
Could have been. But, yeah, you're right, Sean, because it was like it's not necessarily intimidating. I don't know if it is, 'cause I've never been a guest on my podcast, but I don't know if brewers expect to be like inside of a CNN Situation Room kind of thing. But if they know well enough that it's just like a sit down and just chat about beer, that's the kind of like groundwork we've laid for these guests. I think we'll be all right. But he stepped it up. That was big time.
One of the coolest things about the show, just in general, is that about 90% if not higher, of the guests, at least one of us on the show had some sort of relationship with the guests. So they were able to get past that. This was not like a New York Post interview.
Right.
Just like, can't come in, chat with us, and really have a good time. And that was, I think, that kind of like broke the ice to make it more of a real show rather than just people chatting and something to listen to, than something of like, this was a press piece. We're coming out with something tomorrow, and we need to do like 40 radio shows, so we're going to do these like 5-minute clips on something. That's not what the Seacoast Bev Lab podcast is about. It's really about just kind of getting in there and talking to the nitty-gritty about it and kind of getting down and dirty. And I will tell you this, because I personally had hosted a handful of shows. I'm not sure if it maybe over 10 and whatnot.
Yeah.
Being the show host is very difficult. I am right now I'm gonna tip my hat
Ugh.
to Brian because it's very difficult to herd in a bunch of cats that are going in like 10,000 different directions, running around the room, and coming up with a very big focus of here's what we're going to do. Your comment, shut up! You just already talked for like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
We're on to the next person already, and people don't see that behind the scenes. Brian's really doing that all the time.
Okay, continue.
This is no one else told me to bring this up. I just brought it up on my own. And I think that was it's very important to mention that this is a behind the scene things of us. It's very.
Sean starts crying.
Oh, and it's probably also. Yeah.
No.
And thanks to all you guys too. And the other thing to mention too is that we're not paid to do this, and we've all committed to kind of coming back over and over again, to do this, which is awesome. And then I think that shows how excited these guests get us about talking, about talking beer all the time.
Totally, and especially during weeks where there's nothing to talk about, to make us still try to come back and figure something out for half an hour even, and even people are like, oh my god, I listen to your show when I walk my dog. Mike and I were at the ACBF, and we get is actually walking their dog. Sick freak. But Mike and I were approached a couple times at ACBF saying, "Oh my God, we love the show." So I mean, like stuff like that keeps us going too. Not necessarily the smoke blowing, but just to know that we are actually reaching out to people. We see the numbers every week, the people downloading it via YouTube or MP3, so that's pretty cool. If I want to go ahead and pass the buck to our den mother, Carla, sometimes she has to keep the boys in order. So someday I'll do a video of like how I set things up and how the podcast rolls. But what really happens behind the scenes is Carla's the one saying, "Okay, boys, stop giggling and start talking."
Somebody at a beer fest once came up to me and they said, "Oh, I watched the Seacoast Avalanche podcast. That's really cool." And I was like, "Oh, thanks. It's awesome. It's Brian's show, but it's really fun to be on there." And she said, "I wanted to thank you for being on there because I think your presence keeps it from devolving into like burping and farting."
Very true.
All of the other guy podcasts that she had listened to, like all of the ones that were like just men sitting around talking about beer, just eventually ended up being toilet humor or whatever. But I was like, that's probably not. I'm not actively doing that, but maybe it's just the perception of me being the den mother that's keeping that way.
It took us a couple episodes to start maybe burping once or whatever, but once the show goes live, there's just belch from everybody after every show.
Yeah. So I have to switch to another screen for a second, but so. For those of you guys who have been watching our show for a little while, you know that we've been asking the Moment of Zen question, which, if you're not familiar with it, is at the very end of every show that we have a guest, almost every show that we have a guest. We ask them, okay, if you're a brewer, you've been doing this for X number of years, you probably have people coming into your brewery that have that have aspirations to become a brewer. And they go, I want to start my own brewery. What advice do you have for me? And we've asked that to almost all of our guests after we started. So I think it comes out to like 30-something different Moment of Zens that have been asked. And I have been actually transcribing and archiving all of the Moment of Zens, and I have a Christmas present that isn't quite ready yet, but I thought maybe we could release it next week of a compilation show, like a clip thing of all of the Moment of Zens.
Oh yeah, that'd be a sexy ebook as well.
Yeah, so that's my Christmas present to you guys, but it's going to be ready.
That's awesome.
It's good stuff.
Just a preview. What's really fun is that there are some brewers that say the exact opposite of other people. So there's a lot of.
That's what's good about it.
There's a lot of awesome opinions. There's a lot of fabulous advice, and I honestly think it would make a really cool like little ebook to give to people. Like, okay,
totally.
You think you're gonna open a brewery? Read this.
Here you go.
There's 30 pages of like straight up advice, from great people like Sam Calagione and people from Six Point and Boulevard and all these things, and but back to back we had episode my favorite little juxtaposition is back to back. We had Luke Livingston say the first sentence was, "I would never say don't do it, but I would say if you're gonna do it, you have to give a shit," which I love. That answer. Okay? Love it. And then Jeremy Danner for Boulevard the following week says, "Don't do it." Then he elaborates, go work in a brewery beforehand and whatever. But I just that's just a little teaser for you guys. But there will be a little Merry Christmas present to you guys and to the fans coming next week.
Hell yeah!
I think that was a great sense of honesty, though, to have somebody.
Totally, and that's
what we need. Yeah.
What I think has worked really well about the Moment of Zen, especially after watching them all, is that it's at the end of the show, right? So even if these people don't know us at the outset and would be really uncomfortable with that being one of the first questions, I feel like by the time they get to this question, they're ready to be as honest as they're going to be.
Good call.
And here's my comment about the shows that I have greatly enjoyed. If you remember, it may have took us all the way till episode 55. Then what we realized that people out there watch our show who then become our interviewee. And Paul Davis from Prodigal Brewing was really one of the first ones that he knew that we were going to be asking the Moment of Zen even before we got to the Moment of Zen.
Yes.
So he had sort of prepared himself.
That's awesome.
Going up to that. And that was kind of like a show that was like, wow, people watching us now, we're going to interview them, but they know exactly what we're going to talk about. And the show it was very easy.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's good stuff. But yeah, so Carla, that's ridiculous that you would do something like that. So
Merry Christmas.
yeah, and I guess we can keep it up from now on too. So now that we don't have to backtrack on an episode.
Yeah, and what it'll be nice too is because we're not doing an episode over the holidays. I thought it would be a nice little thing to release, kind of in between, so that people can get a little teaser and get excited about our next whatever season or whatever we're gonna call it.
Yep. Well, I mean, Jesus, we can obviously hug each other for the next hour if you wanted to, but let's go down the line real quick. And any Momo, I mean, you obviously come back whenever the hell you want, but what any final words on the past hundo and the future hundo, if there will be a hundo?
Honestly, though, I think it's a great way to see how the industry's changed so much over the last couple of years. Like, if somebody told probably even anybody in the industry that even 5 years ago that there would be people that are looking to have open dialogues, blogs, video podcasts, everything about the industry to this great extent.
Live, not edited, cleaned up, awesome. This is raw.
Yeah,
raw.
This is raw. But no, honestly, I think it's a great commentary. That's the word that I was looking for. Commentary on how business and the brewing world is changing in the sense that it really is collaborative and everybody wants to kind of have their say. But it's a different type of communication. It's not negative communication. We're not getting on this show because we easily could have had a podcast about which beers suck and which breweries are terrible and which people shouldn't even try. But instead, we took the high road and we focused on the positives, and we honestly, cheers to that. Because honestly, it's easy to fall into the negative, and I think anybody that's doing something similar to us, make sure to keep it classy.
Yeah. Carla, takeaways. What you hope to get in the next couple episodes or for future shows?
I like Mo. I like what you said there about seeing it evolve too. It's that thing of knowing that we've been doing this for long enough that things have changed and things, controversial topics come back up, or there's new things that happen. Like Dan Cat, does the pay, talks about controversial stuff, and we go, oh well, when he was here, he was talking about XYZ. That kind of continuing building the timeline of what's going on, and talking also about breweries that aren't famous, has been really valuable, and I really hope we do a lot more of that, because I would love to talk to a bunch of breweries and then see them explode in the next 5 years and go, wow, I talked to you when you had a 5-barrel system,
Yeah, definitely. That's yep.
So I always want everybody to succeed, but it is really cool to see these little snapshots, and especially, being in New England, there are, one of the reasons we got together is that there just aren't that many people talking about New England beer, period. So it's nice to kind of have a roundtable of giving each other updates on even just what's going on in our backyards.
Yeah, I think that's initially how it was sort of formed in my own brain. Was there's no, I mean, we all have our separate blogs and our separate outlets of doing our thing, but it was kind of my way of bringing everyone just to chat about what's going on, like kind of what you said. So, but we're not going to meet all in the same place each week. So do a video thing.
Yep.
And then oddly enough, it posts online, and I can also upload the MP3 to that too, and
yeah.
evolve.
And I have to thank you guys too for giving me a reason to now get over the fact that I don't like my own, like hearing my own voice recorded. Like now I don't care. Like people ask me to do interviews and stuff, I'm like sure. Like now I'm on CYY WCYY, a radio station, on Thursday mornings talking beer a little bit, and it gave me no hesitation to say yes to that because I've heard my own voice recorded now 100+ times. That that it let me get over it, because everybody needs the sound of their own voice. So
very true.
Personally, for me, that's been awesome, just as professional development. So cool. Oh.
So, well, that's good stuff. Shano, thoughts, concerns?
I'm just looking forward to the next 100. Who the guests are going to be?
Yep.
Who's going to be really our next repeats, because something's happening. Something's happening out there, and it's a good time to chat about it. I know that we have to kind of expand. I mean, so many breweries have been opened up already in New England. We could probably just do the first 4 months of just back-to-back interviews of all the new breweries and new things that are going on. So I think the show itself gives an insight to what's happening in these individual worlds, and it's a great way to basically not categorize it, but kind of put it into a time spot into history, so that people can go back and listen to it at a later time and say, hey, this is where we were, and this is what we were thinking about at the time, and hey, gosh, it's changed.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess my only thing, besides what you've all said, was there so many breweries opening up so rapidly that not many people take the time to see or even wonder how these breweries open or what they went through to put the beer in front of you. It's always what's your next beer. So the whole thing about the podcast is you're able to slow it down and take an hour with these brewers and say, okay, this is how Brewery X started. This is how they got to where they are now, and not just, oh my God, what's their next beer? Because there's so many. I mean, excluding Maine, there's plenty of breweries opening up everywhere else that you might not have time to think about how they open. Just okay, well they just open, but they have an IPA, but they don't care. Like, this brewer is formerly from this brewery who used to make this awesome beer. So that's kind of the cool thing, is along with what Carl was saying, how everything's kind of changing fast, and we're talking about it as it changes. It's always cool to see how they got their roots and started doing it. Which it sounds like it could get repetitive when we ask kind of the same questions to the same guests, but they're all different answers, especially with the Moment of Zen. So.
Yeah, the one thing I can say, even just going through the Moment of Zens, is that we have definitely not reached the point where every brewer says the same thing, because holy crap, do they not say the same thing?
Truth.
They are very, very different in their responses to everything.
Sean, since it's a pretty big news, we can end it with that, and then we can each say one last thing. Then we gotta shut her down just to save some stuff for the next episode. But a big piece of news just came off the wire. Sean, do you want to give a quick chat about it?
Yeah,
it's our first news story of 100 episode. Here we go.
So today, there's a press release by Founders Brewing Company, where Founders sold 30% stake to Mahou San Miguel Brewery out of a Spanish brewery company, Founders recently embarked on a $30 million expansion project that will enable the company to brew upwards of 900,000 barrels.
Holy
the company
crap.
expects to brew more than 200,000 barrels this year, and was ranked by the Brewers Association as the 26th largest craft brewery in 2013, where that they're expected to be higher on the list in 2014. So this is kind of the conversations that we've had of either the the Boulevard and Brewery Morgott, the combination, or where Uinta had recently gone to a private funding, an equity company, to be able to do it. So there's a lot of different acquisitions out there, or even the 10 Barrel Brewing Company that
Yep.
that Anheuser-Busch had just recently announced about 2 weeks ago.
It's crazy. Here it goes. Oh, here it goes.
I think to me the first thought that automatically came to my head is that what happens with the status of being a craft brewer? Because I believe the percentage of ownership was around 20. No, I think it's like something weird, like over 20 or 25.
Is it?
Yeah, because I think that's why Craft Brew Alliance, Red Hook, Win Makona is not into it, because I think they're over 25%.
Oh. So, we'll obviously be following this as we hear more about it.
Do you guys have any thoughts? What's your first thoughts around that?
Interesting. Like, I wonder how long it's been in the works. That's more my initial thoughts. Is like, they've been coming out with newer beers and expanding their 12 packs to 15 packs. So, was Miguel behind all this too, or? As I tickle my beard like you do, Sean, just thinking about it.
I mean, I wonder how much of that is true. I mean, this reminds me, and nobody leap down my throat for this, please, with the fandom, but it reminds me a little bit of the Anheuser-Busch Goose Island thing, because they have such a demand for like a couple of their beers, and they just don't have the like capacity to keep up with some of that stuff. So it feels to me like this, 900,000 barrel or whatever the hell, 900,000 whatever it is, could like, that investment could help them brew their regular stuff, giving them more time to, pay attention to things like, breakfast stout or whatever. I'm not opposed to that. If you can, figure out ways to get more done by having a couple more people invest in you, do it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm torn. But they make some really good beer, so as long as they don't stop making really good beer, I'm cool.
Jeez. We thought Sony Pictures was bad. Come on, Founders.
Hey,
What's up?
Oh.
They canned another North Korea movie, by the way. Steve Carell's movie got canceled.
Which one?
It's Pyongyang, I believe is what it was called. It's a thriller about a guy who gets stuck in, or he gets caught up in North Korea and ends up becoming like a prisoner, and then it's like all about like their propaganda and everything, and that ended up getting canceled. Hasn't even started filming yet. And they
wow. Come on. Oh boy. Well, not the podcast for that, but holy shit.
Yeah. Steve Carell.
Yep.
Michael Scott deserves a shot.
That's what I'm saying, yeah. As long as he's not dressed up as Ping like he was in The Office.
Oh, hello, everybody.
It's Ping.
And we're all targeted right now.
Yep, and shit. But I guess that's going to do it. Does anyone have any final words before I say my piece? It's not really a piece, but before I end it.
I just want to say, right now, if anyone's interested, we have 31 beers of December going on. We're already on day 17. 17 different writers, and it's kind of interesting to read why someone chose a certain beer to write about. It's pretty fun.
Hell yeah. All I'm saying is Game Tank with Frank, former beer podcast. Frank Barrett's write-up on his. That's pure poetry.
It was good.
Only from a man from the Midwest could write about. It was so awesome. He's a wordsmith. I gotta have him on the show.
But he's also the only person I think that's done the same beer for like 3 or 4 years in a row.
It's a different story every year though, which is good at least. Oh man. But I guess Sean dies of heart. Jeez. So I guess with that, I'm going to say thank you very much to those that are always in the chat. You know who you are, and we always talk about you for sure. Thanks again to all the brewers that come on the show. Thank you for everyone that downloads the podcast, watches the podcast live. If, as Carla was mentioning, if you have ideas for guests in the future, you know how to get to us. Any one of our Twitters, and there are all the contact info on the webpage, to 200 more. So, Jesus, 100 in the books. Raise a glass or whatever you got, and we will see you guys later. Cheers.
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 Happy holidays, everybody.
Oh, yeah, happy holidays.
This is the second